Some cars don't just move, they shake the ground, rattle your bones, and sound like thunder rolling from the sky. Today, we're counting down the top 7 classic cars with engines that roar louder than storms. Welcome back to Insane Machines, the home of insane machines and legendary power. Hit that subscribe button because today, your speakers are about to be tested. Number 7. 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1. At number 7, we kick things off with a car that shocked everyone in 1970. Buick was known for building smooth, comfortable cruisers for businessmen and families, but then they dropped this monster, and the muscle car world would never look at Buick the same way again. From the outside, the GSX wasn't just another muscle car. The bright Saturn yellow or Apollo white paint, bold black stripes, a front chin spoiler, and a rear wing made it stand out instantly. This wasn't the Buick your grandpa drove to church. This was Buick telling Chevy, Dodge, and Ford, we can play rough too. Underneath that long hood sat a 455 cubic inch big block V8. But this wasn't just any engine. In Stage 1 tune, it produced a conservative rating of 360 horsepower. But here's the secret. Buick underrated it. In reality, it made far more. And torque? A record-breaking 510 pound-feet, more than any other muscle car of its time. That number still sounds insane today. And the sound? That's why it's on this list. The GSX Stage 1 didn't whisper. It didn't even talk. It roared. At idle, it was like a storm brewing in the distance, a low, deep growl that made your chest vibrate. Hit the gas, and it turned into thunder rolling directly overhead, rattling windows and leaving your ears ringing. It wasn't just loud, it was commanding, the kind of sound that said, "Step aside, I own this road." On the drag strip, the GSX was a silent assassin. Well, not so silent, but deadly. It could run the quarter mile in the low 13-second range, right out of the dealership, making it one of the fastest showroom stock muscle cars in America. Here's the kicker. Only 678 GSX were built in 1970. That rarity, combined with its earth-shaking sound, makes spotting one today feel like encountering a mythical creature. When someone fires one up at a car meet, crowds don't just gather to see it, they gather to feel it. The Buick GSX Stage 1 wasn't just a muscle car. It was proof that even a brand known for comfort could unleash a storm that still shakes the ground half a century later. Number 6. 1968 Pontiac GTO, the Judge. At number 6, we have a car that carried the nickname of a courtroom enforcer and lived up to it. This wasn't just another muscle car. This was Pontiac's statement to the world, we own the streets and nobody does it better. The Judge came in loud colors like carousel red, the kind of shade that made sure you couldn't miss it, even from 2 blocks away. Add in the Ram Air hood, the rear spoiler, and those wide tires, and this car had the look of a street fighter. It was designed to be bold, brash, and unmistakable. But the real muscle wasn't in the paint, it was under the hood. The Judge could be ordered with the 400 cubic inch Ram Air 3 V8, making 366 horsepower. Or if you were feeling truly fearless, you went with the Ram Air 4, a high-compression, high-revving beast that made the car scream like no other. Pontiac even teased a wild Ram Air 5 version, but only a few prototypes ever saw the light of day. The GTO Judge had one of the deepest, most authoritative exhaust notes of the entire muscle car era. Loud, commanding, final. This was a car that didn't ask for respect. It demanded it. The Judge earned its name from a comedy skit on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Here comes the Judge. Pontiac grabbed that phrase and turned it into marketing gold. And it worked. The GTO became one of the best-known names in American muscle history. Today, the Judge is one of the most collectible Pontiacs ever built. When one starts up, that low, thunderous rumble makes people stop whatever they're doing and turn their heads. It's a sound that instantly takes you back to the golden age of Detroit iron. The 1968 Pontiac GTO The Judge was more than a car. It was a ruling in the court of muscle. A verdict that said power, style, and attitude belonged to Pontiac. And even 50 years later, that judgment still stands. Number 5. 1971 Dodge Challenger RT 440 6-pack. At number 5, we have one of Dodge's most iconic muscle machines. This car wasn't subtle. It was loud, it was wild, and it was built for one reason: domination on the street and the drag strip. The Challenger was Dodge's answer to the pony car wars. With its long, aggressive body lines, wide stance, and that unmistakable shaker hood, it was pure attitude on wheels. The RT trim screamed performance, stripes, spoilers, and styling that looked fast even when parked. Under that hood was the legendary 400 cubic inch V8, fitted with the famous 6-pack setup, 3 2-barrel carburetors working in harmony. Officially, Dodge claimed 390 horsepower. But ask anyone who's driven one, and they'll tell you the truth. It felt like way more. Stomp the pedal, and all 6 barrels opened up, unleashing a tidal wave of torque that could melt tires in seconds. The Challenger 440 six-pack didn't purr, it snarled. At idle, it was a deep, uneven rumble, the kind of sound that made bystanders glance around nervously, like a fight was about to break out. Push it to full throttle, and it turned into a furious roar, a metallic thunder that echoed down city streets and drag strips alike. It wasn't music, it was pure intimidation. Dodge knew what it had. In fact, the Challenger 440 six-pack became a legend in NHRA drag racing, where its insane torque made it a favorite among weekend warriors. The name six-pack itself became so iconic, people still use it today as shorthand for raw, old-school Mopar power. Fun fact, Dodge rated it at 390 horsepower, but enthusiasts know the truth. These cars were pushing closer to 425 horses in reality. It was Dodge's little secret weapon, and one that left competitors shaking in their boots. The 1971 Dodge Challenger RT 440 six-pack wasn't refined. It wasn't polite. It was Detroit muscle at its loudest and angriest. A street brawler with a voice like rolling thunder, and a reputation that still makes car fans smile today. Number 4. 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 LS6. A car so powerful, so intimidating, that it earned the title of the king of the streets. If muscle cars were gladiators, this one was the champion in the arena. The Chevelle had that classic muscle stance, wide, low, and aggressive. The dual stripes running across the hood and trunk made it look like it was born for the racetrack. Add in the cowl induction hood that popped open under throttle, and this wasn't just a car. It was a predator, ready to hunt. But here's the real monster. The 454 cubic inch LS6 V8, officially rated at 450 horsepower and a jaw-dropping 500 pound-feet of torque. In 1970, this made the Chevelle SS 454 the most powerful production muscle car ever built. That kind of torque meant one thing: smoke. Endless, glorious tire smoke. Just a tap of the throttle, and the rear tires would break loose. Slam the pedal, and you weren't just driving, you were unleashing chaos. The Chevelle SS 454 didn't have a sound, it had a battle cry. At idle, it was a deep, mechanical growl that made the ground vibrate. At full throttle, the LS6 roared like a cannon blast. They called it a big block monster for a reason. On the drag strip, the Chevelle SS 454 was unstoppable. It could run the quarter mile in the low 13-second range, factory stock, which was insane for its time. And unlike some muscle cars, the Chevelle had a balance of looks, power, and pure street presence. Fun fact, despite being rated at 450 horsepower, many experts believe Chevrolet underrated the LS6. In reality, these beasts were closer to 500 horsepower, making them some of the most powerful muscle cars ever produced straight from the factory. The 1970 Chevelle SS 454 was pure American muscle at its peak. No car from that era struck fear into rival drivers quite like this one. It wasn't just loud, it was legendary. Number 3. 1967 Shelby GT500 Mustang. At number 3, we arrive at the 1967 Shelby GT500 Mustang, a car that became more than just Detroit steel. It became a symbol, a legend, and a Hollywood superstar. When this thing roared, the world listened. The GT500 wasn't just another Mustang. Carroll Shelby took Ford's pony car and turned it into a predator. With its wide stance, scooped hood, side stripes, and fastback body, it looked mean, like it was ready to lunge forward even while standing still. This wasn't a toy. This was a weapon. Under the hood sat the 428 cubic inch Police Interceptor V8, officially rated at 355 horsepower. But Shelby wasn't about official numbers. Real-world figures pushed closer to 400 horses. With dual 4-barrel carburetors feeding that massive block, the GT500 was born to dominate highways and drag strips. This wasn't a car you eased into. When you floored it, the GT500 lunged forward with a surge of torque, and the world behind you disappeared in tire smoke. And the sound? Oh, the sound. At idle, it had that signature Ford big block lope, uneven, threatening, like it was breathing heavy before a fight. Hit the gas, and it screamed with a thunderous roar, a metallic howl that was instantly recognizable. This wasn't just noise, It was the voice of a legend. The GT500 wasn't just a car, it was a cultural phenomenon. Carroll Shelby's creation made the Mustang more than a pony car. It became a muscle car heavyweight. And thanks to Hollywood, especially the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, where it was nicknamed Eleanor, the GT500 became one of the most famous cars on the planet. Fun fact, the original 1967 GT500 was so influential, Ford actually brought back the Shelby GT500 decades later, proving that legends never die. The 1967 Shelby GT500 Mustang was beauty and beast combined. Aggressive looks, thunderous sound, and a legacy that still makes car lovers' hearts race. This wasn't just a Mustang, it was the Mustang. Alright, we're down to the final two, and trust me, these last two cars, they're not just loud, they're earth-shaking monsters. The kind of engines that made people cover their ears, windows rattle in neighborhoods, and competitors fear even lining up against them. But before we reveal them, let me ask you, which one of these legends do you think has the greatest thunder of all? Drop your guess in the comments. Number 2, the 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda. A car that didn't just make noise, it made statements. If you pulled up to the drag strip in a Hemi Cuda, you weren't just another racer. You were the one everyone came to watch and fear. The Cuda had a presence like few others. Short wheelbase, wide body, aggressive lines, and that famous shaker hood scoop that wobbled with every rev, making it look alive, like it was snarling at anyone who dared to challenge it. Underneath sat the legendary 426 Hemi V8, the same engine that dominated NASCAR and drag strips alike. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, but real-world numbers were closer to 500 horses. And with over 490 pound-feet of torque, the Hemi Cuda could launch like a rocket, pinning drivers to their seats and leaving nothing but tire smoke behind. The Hemi Cuda had a sound that could stop conversations mid-sentence. At idle, it was a heavy rhythmic rumble that shook the ground beneath your feet. But on the drag strip, that Hemi screamed, a ferocious roar that echoed for miles. It was the kind of sound that made people cover their ears and smile at the same time. The Hemi Cuda quickly became the poster child for drag racing. In the early 70s, it tore up quarter miles, hitting mid-13s straight from the factory. With just a few mods, racers could push it into the 10s, unheard of for street cars back then. Fun fact, because of their rarity, real Hemi Cudas are among the most valuable muscle cars today. One sold at auction for over $3.5 million, proving just how much respect this beast still commands. The 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda wasn't just loud, it was legendary. Its roar, its dominance, its reputation, all cemented it as one of the greatest muscle cars ever built. And now, we're down to number 1, the car that defined raw power and earth-shaking sound, the beast itself. Number 1, 1969 Dodge Charger RT. If there's one car that captures the soul of muscle, the looks, the power, the sound, it's this beast. And when it roars, the world listens. The '69 Charger looked like nothing else on the road. Its hidden headlights, full-width grille, long hood, and wide haunches gave it an intimidating presence. This wasn't just a car, it was a statement of dominance. Sleek yet aggressive, elegant yet dangerous. The kind of car that looked fast even when standing still. Under that long hood sat the ultimate weapon, the 426 cubic inch Hemi V8. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, but in reality, it punched out much more. Nicknamed the Elephant Engine because of its sheer size and power, the Hemi gave the Charger supercar-level performance for its time. 0 to 60 in just over 5 seconds, quarter mile in the low 13s. This was Detroit's thunderstorm on wheels. And then there's the sound. At idle, the Hemi growled low, like a sleeping monster warning you not to get too close. Step on the gas, and it exploded into a roar so raw, so violent, it could make your chest vibrate. It wasn't just an exhaust note, it was a war cry, a sound that made the Charger unforgettable. The '69 Charger didn't just rule the streets, it ruled pop culture. From the Dukes of Hazzard's General Lee to Dominic Toretto's Black Charger in Fast and Furious, this car became an icon of rebellion and raw power. Fun fact, because of its weight and aerodynamics, Dodge even created a special racing version, the Charger Daytona, with a massive wing and nose cone, built solely to dominate NASCAR. That's how legendary this car was. The 1969 Dodge Charger RT Hemi is the ultimate thunder machine. Aggressive design, legendary engine, and a roar that could shake the ground. It wasn't just a muscle car. It was, and still is, the beast. So there you have it. 7 classic cars with engines that sound like thunder. Which one was your favorite? Which one of these thunder machines would you take home if you had the chance? Tell us in the comments. We're ready for the debate. And if you love the sound of raw muscle, this is just the beginning. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and stay tuned, because the next storm of horsepower is coming.